Hey folks, this is Rhykker with a Diablo 3 patch 2.6.4, Season 16 Wizard Build Guide. This is currently one of my favorite builds in the game, and it's actually the build that I ran throughout Season 15, so I'm absolutely psyched that in Season 16 it's going to be a ton more powerful, thanks to the balance changes. Now, Season 16 is the Season of Grandeur. Everyone gets for free the effect of the Ring of Royal Grandeur, but that's only for season characters. For non-seasonal, you won't gain that effect. So I will give the options for both season and non-season, what you're going to include as items if you're running the seasonal variant, and if you're not, what you can default to. Now, this build is a Tal Rasha Meteor build. Not the Arcane Meteor, but the Fire Meteor, which is a little bit weaker, but in my opinion, a lot more fun to run. It's also a hell of a lot more forgiving. So in this video, we'll cover the items and the gear that you need to rock this build. Let's begin with an overview of the gear. You'll want the full 6-piece bonus of the Tal Rasha set. In Season 16, that means equipping 5 pieces, but the pieces you'll want: helm, chest, gloves, belt, pants, and if you're running non-season, amulet. The 2-piece bonus doesn't do a whole lot for us, but the 4-piece bonus makes it such that anytime we attack with an elemental skill, our resistances increase by 25%. This effect lasts 8 seconds, and for each of the 4 elements we're capable of casting, we will get a subsequent buff. Now you may be wondering, well, 25 times 4 elements, that's 100% damage resistance. Does that mean we're going to be immune to damage? Nope, that's not how damage resistance stacks. To put it very simply, let's say you have one source of damage resistance that gives you 50% damage resistance, and then you gain another source of damage resistance that gives you another 50. You're not reaching 100, but you're going to reach 75. In other words, you're gaining 50% damage resistance to the remaining 50% that you're still vulnerable to. Then the 6-piece bonus basically does the same thing, but for your damage. It gives you a big damage buff every time you cast a spell, an attack spell, of a particular element. So, with Tal Rasha builds, it's all about balancing elements. You want 4 different elemental attack skills. Now, the buffs from both the 4 and the 6-piece set bonuses last 8 seconds. However, for the 6-piece bonus, in order to refresh the duration, all you have to do is basically keep casting 2 different elemental attacks. In practice, this will mean channeling with your main attack skill and occasionally popping a second skill. However, while this refreshes your damage bonus, it does not refresh your defense bonus. So ideally, once every 8 seconds, you'll still want to be popping one of each of your 4 attack skills in order to maintain your defense buff. But if you want to focus on just DPS and you don't mind your defenses dropping a bit, then again, with the 6-piece, you can just be standing in place, channeling, popping your second skill occasionally, and you may particularly want to do this if you're in the midst of a convention rotation and you don't want to miss any damage in that damage window. Now, because this is a channeling build, we're going to need a few supporting items, starting with the Mantle of Channeling. We're going to deal more damage and take less damage while we are channeling. We're going to combine that with an Etched Sigil. While we're channeling, the damage of our arcane spenders is increased, and every second, we're casting one of our damaging arcane spenders. Now, because of this, anytime you're using an Etched Sigil build, it's very important that you control which skill is being activated by this. So you want to have only one spender that is being activated. Because Diablo 3 is all about focusing the damage of one single skill. So if you're diluting that with 2 or more different spenders, then you are not being optimal. In this case, Meteor is the skill. That's why we're getting Nilfr's Boast. Huge damage buff to our Meteor skill. We're also going to combine this with a Death Wish while we're channeling. More damage. Then for even more damage, we're working in a convention of elements. We want to take advantage of that fire rotation, or if you're going with the arcane variant, you can go with arcane, but you want to make sure that when that window is open, you are sitting there channeling, dealing damage. Now, if you're not running seasonal, you'll also want a Unity. This is of course only for solo play, and only if you can put a Unity on your follower along with a token that makes your follower invulnerable. For party play, go with a Stone of Jordan for more damage, but if it's Season 16, then what you're going to want actually is a Compass Rose and a Traveler's Master's Pledge. This 2-piece set makes it such that when you are standing still, you deal more damage, and when you are moving, you take less damage. To further focus on our defenses, we'll want Ashnagar's Blood Bracer. This will increase the potency of our shields, and we're going to be working some shields into this build. In our cube, we want the Grand Vizier, another huge damage buff to Meteor. For toughness, we're going to want an Aquila Cuirass in the cube, and a Halo of Carini for more damage mitigation. Let's take a look at our skills. So, our bread and butter, Meteor, Meteor Shower. We'll also want Ray of Frost, Cold Blood. This will be our main channeling skill because its arcane power cost is only 11. We want to maintain our bonus from the Aquila Cuirass, so we want to do as much as possible to reduce our channeling costs. We want to maintain as much resource as possible. Next, we'll take Teleport Calamity. On an 11-second cooldown, the reason we're taking Calamity is because this will be our source of arcane damage. Because we're taking the Halo of Carini, we need to take Storm Armor to benefit from the damage reduction that the Halo of Carini bestows. And we're taking Power of the Storm because it reduces the arcane power cost of skills by 3 while the shield is active. And again, we're trying to maintain over 90% arcane power so that we can benefit from the damage resistance of the Aquila Cuirass. Then we're taking Magic Weapon Deflection. Magic Weapon is a great damage buff for wizards, and the Deflection rune gives us a shield which will be buffed by our Ashnagar's Blood Bracers. Then lastly, we're taking Arcane Torrent Static Discharge. Up to this point, we had 3 of our 4 elements covered. Fire from the Meteor, Cold from our main channeling power, Arcane from our teleport, and Static Discharge gives us a source of elemental damage that is not triggered by our Etched Sigil because this is another channeling skill. So we're going to be channeling Ray of Frost all the time and occasionally popping Arcane Torrent. Onto our passives, we're going to take Audacity, dealing more damage to enemies within 15 yards. We'll take Illusionist. When we take more than 15% of our maximum life of damage within 1 second, it resets the cooldown on Teleport. This helps us get out of a sticky situation when we need to. We're going to take Galvanizing Ward. This gives us a shield that is buffed by Ashnagar's Blood Bracer. Then lastly, you have the option between taking Unstable Anomaly for that extra life, or you can go with Dominance that gives us yet another shield, which again will be buffed by Ashnagar's Blood Bracer. Which you choose is up to you. Dominance gives you more toughness to prevent you from dying altogether, whereas Unstable Anomaly basically erases 1 death per 60 seconds. Alright, let's go back to the gear and we'll go over exactly what you want on every piece of gear. And again, in the video description is where we'll have the link to the D3 planner with simulated gear with idealized stats. For your shoulders, you want Intelligence, Vitality, Life, and Area Damage. Wherever you can on your gear, try to squeeze in a secondary resistance. For your helm, Intelligence, Crit Chance, Meteor Damage. Then in the socket, you can go with either an Amethyst for more life, or you can go with a Topaz for more resource cost reduction. Particularly if you feel that you are not maintaining enough resource, enough arcane power to benefit from your Aquila, then definitely go for a Topaz there. For your amulet, Fire, Crit Chance, Crit Damage. For your gloves, Intelligence, Crit Chance, Crit Damage, Area Damage. For your chest, Intelligence, Vitality, Attack Speed. Then if you already have an Amethyst, you'd probably want to go with Armor. If you do not have an Amethyst, then Life percent. More specifically, if you already have 3 sources of Life percent, then you'd want to go with Armor. Shoulders, Belt, and Amethyst would be 3 sources. For your bracers, you want Fire, Intelligence, Vitality, and Crit Chance. For your belt, Intelligence, Vitality, Life percent, Armor. For your pants, Intelligence, Vitality, and Armor. For your boots, Intelligence, Vitality, Armor, Meteor Damage. For your rings, Crit Chance, Crit Damage, Area Damage. And then if you have a Compass Rose, Intelligence. For your Etched Sigil, Damage, Intelligence, Crit Chance, Arcane Power on Crit, very important to maintaining maximum resource. Then lastly, Area Damage. And then for your weapon, Intelligence percent damage, Area Damage. For your legendary gems, you want a Bane of the Trapped, best damage gem in the game. You'll want a Taeguk, more damage, more toughness while channeling. Then lastly, Bane of the Powerful or Bane of the Stricken. Now, you swap to a Bane of the Stricken when it's taking you too long to kill Rift Guardians. Most people swap to a Bane of the Stricken way too early. Bane of the Powerful is very useful, and as long as you are still benefiting from its damage buff, which in my case here, at just rank 91 is lasting 2 minutes, as long as that damage buff does not fall off, it's still beneficial. Once you've killed your first elite, Bane of the Powerful should be helping you throughout the rest of the Rift, whereas with the Bane of the Stricken, it resets on every enemy you attack, and you have to build up stacks before you're even reaching the same amount of damage buff that the Bane of the Powerful is giving you. And then you have to make up for lost time. In my experience, even at Greater Rift 100, I was still benefiting more from my Bane of the Powerful than Bane of the Stricken, but your mileage may vary. And of course, this changes on a per build basis. As for Paragon points, you want to get your total move speed up to 25%, then dump everything into intelligence. For offense, you want to keep your total crit chance and crit damage at a 1-to-10 ratio, then dump into cooldown and then attack speed. For defense, life percent, armor, all resist, life regen. For utility, life per hit, resource cost reduction, area damage, gold find. And that's gonna wrap up this video. But be sure to have checked out our tier list video on the best builds of Season 16, and stay tuned for potential updates, since huge changes have happened this season. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch and Patreon supporters for making these videos possible. If you like what you see on this channel and want to support the creation of more content, you can consider becoming a Royal Raider on Patreon, where your support is immensely appreciated. We've got a variety of backer rewards, including behind-the-scenes content, monthly virtual hangouts, and more. If you enjoyed this video, please share it, check out these other videos, and subscribe to join Rhykkers Raiders for more Diablo content.